Hey lovelies, thanks for stopping by my channel today. I'm excited to be sharing with you all my thoughts on the Spectrum and Katie Jane Hughes brushes today. This has been a long time coming. I thought I might have this review up sooner, but I'm actually kind of glad that I've stuck it out because I've really been using these for quite a while. As you can tell, some of them are dirty because I just can't stop using them, and so there's never a time where they're all clean. So sorry about that, but I have been using these for a while. I can't wait to give you my thoughts. They are doing a launch of the mini edit set and then also a restock of the full set tomorrow. So I wanted to get this video up for you guys so that you could see it. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Kelly and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist. And here on my channel, I strive to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. But I wanted to share my experience, some of my favorites, talk to you about the edit set, if I think it's worth it, whether you should splurge for the big set, save some money and get the smaller set. Now, I did also recently just pick up a different brush set from Spectrum. I really wanted to get these. I mean, let's face it, I kind of wanted to get them because they're pretty, but I also wanted to get them to compare to the Katie Jane Hughes set, just to see if there's like a difference in quality, if there's any design difference at all, if it's just brushes that Katie came out with that she likes, like if they're really kind of the same brushes. She just picked the ones that she likes and they put them in this beautiful olive color. So I just sort of wanted to have another brush set to compare to. So I will do that for you so that you can also decide if you want to snag Katie's set or if maybe you wanted to try picking up a different Spectrum set. So that's a lot to get into, so let's dive in right now. Now, just so that you know, because I have a lot of information I'm going over, I will have these different segments of this video timestamped so you can kind of click around and find what's going to be most valuable to you. Okay, so just a disclaimer here. If you are new to my channel, you probably don't know how obsessed I am with Katie Jane Hughes. So I'm just gonna throw that out there right now. I really don't think that that will bias my review of this brush set because no matter how much I love somebody, $240 is still $240. So if I don't find that it's worth it, I'm gonna let you know. But I do really love her. I think she's an amazing artist. I do really feel like we have a similar aesthetic in our makeup styles. I just talked about that in a recent video, but I thought that that would be one reason why I would love getting this brush set. So I knew right away I was gonna get it, even before I knew about the details of it. And I have to say, just in general, I don't regret this purchase at all. So there's that. You might decide you're gonna click off this video now, but I just wanna throw that like generalization out there. Now, are there some brushes that I don't love in this set? Yes. Are there some things that I really wish she would have included? Yes. So why don't we dive into that? Now, this again is $240 for the 25-piece brush set. I will say, while Katie says that obviously you can use any brush for anything, you do get a wide variety of like eye, lip, and face brushes. So what you will get if you get the $240 set is obviously the 25 pieces. You will also get the Katie Jane Hughes and Spectrum microfiber towel. Everything is in this beautiful like olive shade. I think it's cute. I think it's like grungy and glam at the same time. I am here for it. You also get this beautiful brush roll, which by the way, I have divvied up right now. I have all my Denona Myrick's Color Fix in here because to be honest, I've kind of gone crazy and I don't have room for them in my vanity. So until I do some makeup declutter, this is where these are. You can use this for like clean and dirty brushes. That is one thing that would be really nice is you could separate those if you were like out on set or just on your vanity. I right now obviously have them split up this way. I did also appreciate that several of the brushes come in brush guards. So these are really nice to help keep the shape of your brushes if you're traveling after you've washed them. So that is a really nice little perk. In all honesty, you could even like cut these in half and then get double. So I think that there were like 4 or 6 of them. I'm sorry, I don't actually remember that. So I just want to note right here that on the Spectrum website, which of course I will have linked in the description box, Katie does go into some details about why she included each brush, what she likes to use it for. You can go ahead and look at that if you would care to. I think it could be very helpful, but I don't find it valuable for me in my video to talk to you about what Katie talks about, because you could totally do that on your own. So if you're looking for more information, please dive into that. I think it's great that they included that. So let's get right into this. So this is the #1 brush, and this is a brush that is the largest brush in the set, and I am okay with that. I think Katie and I both prefer smaller brushes, and this one, honestly, I wasn't sure I would get a lot of use out of it, but what I have been doing is using it for like an all-over sweep of powder. So if you guys have been following me, you'll know that I am trying to pan this RCMA powder, and I doubt I'm going to completely pan it, but I am trying to go through some of this. One of the things that I like about that powder is it doesn't look super powdery on the face, and coming into summer, I do think that like it'll be nice to have a little bit more of my makeup set. I, like Katie, don't use a crazy ton of powder, but the times that I do want an all-over wash, this has been really nice. It is also, because of the tulip shape, it's tapered enough that I can just sweep it under my eye, so surprisingly enough, I have really been enjoying this. I think this would also make a really nice bronzer brush. It's not too big, but it's big enough to where like you could really get a beautiful like blown out bronzery look. So this is one that I really have been enjoying. Then we have the number 2 and the number 3. Did I do that right? Nope, number 2 and number 3. So these are the same shape of brush. One is just a duo fiber and one is more of your standard bristle. So you are going to get a bit more of a blurred, airbrushed quality look from the duo fiber, and this one you're going to get a bit more pigment. So I find that if I have a product that is very pigmented, or if I'm just looking for a more sheer wash, that's when I'm going to pull out the number 3 to get that more like light diffusion of color. And then if I want a little bit more, I'm going to take the number 2. Now also, if you have a harder pressed compact, so if you have a highlighter, a blush, a bronzer that's a little bit harder to get into, you need something that's a little bit more stiff. None of these brushes by any means would I ever call stiff, but this one definitely has a little bit more than this one does, like just at the ends, you know, obviously because of the duo fiber. So if you need something that has a little bit more to it to get something out of the pan, this would be the way you would want to go. This I find I use for blush, for bronzer. I mean, you could even, if you have like a really sheer like wash of highlight, you could use that here. I've used it for cream and for powders. I really love them. I would say also you could probably use this to set your under eye, like if you're in a bit of a hurry, like you could do that. This could be a great little touch-up powder brush as well. These are like standbys. I love that she included 2 of this shape, but just with the different bristle option, it is really nice. All right, then we have the same concept with the number 4 and the number 5. Again, you have a duo fiber and then a standard packed bristle. The only thing is like the duo fiber on this, I don't know if you guys will be able to see, and I'm sorry that it's dirty, but that's just the reality of it. I have been using it. It almost looks like a little chunky choppy. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure it's fine, but just the aesthetic of it, it just looks like some of the hairs it just looks like my brush got a bad haircut. It performs really nicely, but it just looks a little chunky monkey. Now these, I don't prefer like an angled brush for blush. I really think that, even though that's what I've used on this one, but usually I just like a more like fluffy brush for blush, but these are great for cream bronzer, cream contour. That's usually what I use them. If you do like an angled brush for blush, obviously you could totally do that. I wonder how many times in this video I'm going to say blush instead of brush and brush instead of blush. We shall see. But these are really nice ones. Again, this duo fiber works really nice. I don't know, there's just something about the look of it. And again, as you can probably tell, I've used these for cream and powder and had no problems. All right, here is a brush that I really don't get a lot of use out of. This is the number 6. This is a flat foundation brush. This is like more of that like original classic application method. I really don't use this. I know Katie does use a flat brush like this quite a bit. I think that this would be really nice with like a very sheer like tinted moisturizer, which I really do wear a sheer tint moisturizer a lot of the time, but that would be the only time that I would use this. I don't know. I just find that a lot of times like these types of brushes tend to be a little bit more streaky because I really want to be able to like buff something into the skin. If you have very sensitive skin or very dry skin where you don't really want to like buff because you feel like that dry skin is going to pop up, this could be really nice to be able to lay that product down. You could also use this to like really press like powder in. So I will say I've only used this twice. I used it once for foundation, once for concealer, and it was like, So this will probably end up going into my bathroom to put on mask with, just because that is something that I like to be able to have as a brush that I can like just place some skincare on. So this is one that I had a feeling she was going to bring into a collection, but one that I could have done without. All right, then we have the 7 brush. This is one that I would honestly use for concealer. I've also used this to put on my eye base. Right now I've really been enjoying actually using the nude color fix, but again, concealer, like a nude eye base. I've also found that this could be just like a really quick one and done wash of color over the lids. So it really is nice. It is also like precise enough that you could like, I mean, even use it under the lash line. So that's why I love smaller brushes. Like this is a bigger small brush, but it's still in general is kind of a small brush. I really do enjoy most of the time using brushes like this to like work in my concealer. So I've really been enjoying this one. Now, a brush that I am so glad that Katie decided to put 2 of in the kit are the number 8, because this is a total workhorse brush. This would be great for highlighter. You can totally use it to put a precise amount of contour. You could also very easily like sweep a color onto your lids, like push something into your crease. If you want to do like blush draping, I could see like using this to sort of connect that area into your eye socket. I mean, there really isn't anything that this brush couldn't do. I really like it. I've used it again for cream and powder. Also, this is one that you could even just use to like dust a little powder on. It's just such a nice brush. It's like big enough that you can cover an area, but small enough that you don't have to cover anything you don't want to. A brush that honestly I haven't really reached for much. I don't know if it's that I just haven't had the opportunity, or it's just not going to be something that is like my jam. This is the number 9, and this is like a flat, almost like a painter's brush. So it has very short bristles. Right away I thought, oh, I'm going to be able to get like a really nice sharp line with it. I do think you might be able to do that, but when I used it, it's not quite crisp enough. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's not quite as crisp as, in all honesty, like my Sigma brush. So this is the Sigma Flat Definer. I just feel like this one is much more crisp, and this one has a little bit of like feathering at the end. So it just didn't give me like quite the that I would want to do. So I mean, I feel like this is a good cleanup brush, but not a great one. So this again is one that I didn't necessarily need. All right, the number 10. So this is again another great multi-purpose brush. Again, you could very easily like sweep your color onto your lids. You could totally like buff out concealer, buff out like eye base. Boy, I think you could even like really stamp in if you really wanted to like carve out a cheekbone. You could totally do that. As you might be able to see here, I do have a bit of staining on this one from the color fix that I used in my recent video, which I will go ahead and link up here. But this is what I used to just like really blow out that bright sort of orchid shade all over the lid. And it like instantly, I mean, so quick. So even though it was like a bright color, I was still able to get a nice diffusion of tone. So this is one that I'm so glad to have in this kit. All right, here's a brush that I think is really a true classic shape. This is the number 11. This to me is that like total classic eye blender brush. Like this could be a one and done. You could technically like pack some color on your lid. It's fluffy enough that you could get a bit of blend out of it. So I mean, honestly, I could even like use this for my concealer, like spot conceal. I think this is a great one. It is just, again, another like beautiful basic brush, but it does work really well. All right, here we have the number 12. This again is another classic eye shape. I think for me, this is one that I would like press color onto the lid. It isn't as thin as like a typical flat shader brush, but I like that it's kind of more squat. So you can get in, if you have not a lot of lid space, this is nice because it is a bit shorter. You're not going to automatically like run up into above your crease by using this brush. So this would also be one I could see using on the lower lash line for something that, you know, you want to cover a bit more area with. You could very easily like use this to spot conceal as well. So again, another great multitasker. All right, lucky 13. So this would be like if a pencil brush and a dense blender brush had a baby. It is bigger than a pencil brush, but it's nice and dense, so you could really work this under the lash line. It could even be great like in the outer corner. This is really nice. I would say that this is probably one of the more dense brushes. I mean, it still has some give to it. It's not as tightly packed as like your traditional pencil brush, and it obviously isn't as tapered as a regular pencil brush either. So it's kind of like a good like crossbreed, and I really do enjoy this one. This is one that I don't see a lot in collections. I would say the closest brush that I have seen to this is the BK 207 brush. This one is just a little bit bigger. All right, the number 14. Now this is, I was about to say a flat shader brush, but I really think that this is like somewhere between a flat shader brush and a lip brush. It's very flat, but has this really nice angle. So the only thing is it isn't as stiff as a lot of the flat shader brushes. I have used this on my lid, but I do find that the bristles move a little bit, so you don't get quite as crisp. Now, obviously I could just use like less pressure. That would probably help. But what I found that I've mostly used this for is like to pack in inner corner highlight. It would also make a really nice lip brush as well. So this is one that it's like, okay, I will probably use this, but it isn't one that I would have like picked for myself. Okay, the number 15. So this is one that I really commonly use on my eye. I want to show you the difference between the 15 and the 12. So you can see that the 12 again has those shorter bristles and it is a bit more tightly packed. So the 12 has that traditional like slightly rounded shape. So this isn't like super flat. It does have a bit of fluff to it. This I would say is like a similar shape to my all-time favorite Wayne Goss brush that isn't made anymore. It's not quite the same, but this is really nice for like an all over like lid shade when you're looking for something that has a bit of metallic feel. Again, this would be really good for being able to pack on some concealer in areas. I think you could even like use this as a lip brush if you were in a pinch. So again, a lot of these brushes, and I really appreciate that, you can use in many different ways, which really you can use any brush shape in any way you want to, but I do think that this set has a lot of versatility. A brush that I was like, I don't know what I will use this for. This is the number 16. Now this can definitely be used as a lip brush, which would probably be what I would steer towards first. I did see on the website that Kitty talks about using it in your waterline to like pack on cream product. I was like, ooh, that might be something that I would try because it's flexible enough that I feel like I mean, this might work in the inner corner as well, but because it's a straight line, I don't know that I would necessarily do that. You could use it like as a like flat liner brush, that would work too. And since these bristles have a bit of movement, I think that, you know, you could get a little bit of like a smudgy look. I thought that I might use this again as like a cleanup brush, but there's just a little bit too much give to these bristles because they are longer for me to enjoy using that for. So this is one that I just need to experiment with a little bit more. I will try packing it on with some cream though. All right, now we're getting into some of the brushes that I truly enjoy. I love me some small eye brushes. This is the number 17. I do think that this is a really nice compact blending brush. This would be something that's great for smaller eye shapes. This could totally be like your blending brush. And this is pretty fluffy without being so fluffy that you're not going to get a lot of like impact of tone. So I really do like this one. It's one that I've been using a lot. Another one that I truly love, this is the number 18. So to me, the 18 is like a smaller, more delicate version of the, what was this, the 13 brush. It's a very similar shape, but approximately like half the size. So this is something that I've definitely used in my like lower lash line to be able to build up color on the lid. I could see like dotting this on to spot conceal. Very handy brush. I love tiny brushes like this. That's no secret. Another blending brush, here we have the number 19. Now this brush compared to the 17, I just want to show you these. So the 19 has a much more, I mean, it's not a complete flat top. It still has a bit of taper, but it's not as rounded as the 17 is. So to me, this one is going to give you a bit more accuracy like into the crease if you're really looking to like place color without blowing it out too much. Whereas this one is going to give you a bit more of a blend and a blur because it has more dispersion of the bristles. So, I mean, this is still quite small for a blending brush, but that is where my makeup artist's heart lies. And that's really how I prefer to do makeup, is like building and blending as I go. So I really do like this one as well. Okay, so the number 20. Now this is listed as a flat concealer brush, which it is very true. You definitely can use it in that way. I just find that like with concealer, especially like under the eye, I really like to have something that's more like buffy, if that makes sense. So this is great for, you know, if you do want to like pat product over the top of blemishes and not buff it in too much. If you need a little bit more coverage, this is great. But most of the time I use this as an eye brush to really like lay on shimmery foily eyeshadows with complete accuracy. I love how small this brush is compared to some other flat brushes. If you have a smaller eye shape, this set is so nice because you really can like get in there. And if you have a larger eye shape, I mean, yes, it takes a little bit more time, but you still have the opportunity to use this brush. Whereas people with smaller eyes or hooded eyes, it's hard sometimes to find brushes that are going to work for you. And this is one that I truly think would work for you. I mean, this is even small enough to use as like an inner corner brush. This is so nice. All right, the 21 brush. This is like the teeniest, tiniest little pencil shaped brush. Katie recommends using it for cut crease, which you totally could do. I really like the fact that you could like do a pretty strong cut crease and then above it, because it's a little bit like, It has a little bit of smudgeability to it. You could like blur out that top edge. That's really kind of like what I like. So this is a really nice one. I mean, a detail. I mean, you could use this for anywhere. You could use it on the lip. Again, you could use it to spot conceal. You could use it in the inner corner. So very nice. The 22 brush. So this is a very nice brush. I think Katie just recently, I think it was the 22. I don't think she was using the 24. I think she was using the 22 as her eyeliner brush. And this is exactly what I would use that for. I think this could also be nice for like some creative detailing in your eyeshadow looks if you want to do like a fun little graphic liner. It is a very nice brush. I do prefer this one a little bit more over the longer one, which we'll be getting into in just a moment. Okay, so the number 22, I feel like most eye brushes are going to come with a brow brush. This is, of course, an angled liner brush. Now, you could certainly use this for eyeliner. You could use it for brow product. I think that really you could use this for powder, for creams. The spoolie is nice. It's not too scratchy. There's really nothing like special about this, but if you're looking for a complete set, this is one that you need to have. Number 24. So this is a much larger like long liner brush. Like this is really almost like a nail art or like a graphic liner brush, but I'm a little bit bummed. Mine came a little bit flayed out. You guys aren't going to be able to see those bristles, but I do have some bristles that are like not gathering with their friends. So I haven't tried to reshape this, but I don't think this is one I would use a lot. This isn't one, honestly, that I've grabbed for yet. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to shape this back in place. I think this one came in one of those little sleeves, and I think mine was wonky inside of it. So before I can give you any comments on this, I do obviously need to like use this a little bit, and I found the reason to. Okay, so that is my rundown of this brush set. So I hope this wasn't too rambly, but I also hope it wasn't like too speedy. I just wanted to like give you guys some concise content so that you can know how I feel about this. Okay, so I've talked to you about some of the brushes that I really love in here, right? But I do want to bring to light a couple things that I feel like I wish there were in this set. Number one, I really do wish that there was a face brush that was a bit more densely packed. And I don't know, because I haven't bought anything from Spectrum, I don't know if they make a very dense brush, but all of these, like if we look at all of these bigger brushes, they are all fairly flexible. So there isn't anything that's a bit more densely packed. And sometimes I like that for a stiffer cream product, or, you know, there are just those times that I really want to buff in a product. And I think just one brush, like a smaller, like buffing brush that had some density would be really nice. I do think that I also know people that like denser packed eye brushes for certain situations. Now, for me personally, I find that the eye brushes have a good variety of density. Like there are some really fluffy brushes. There are also densely packed brushes in the ways that I prefer densely packed brushes, which would be like flat shader brushes, that concealer type brush, and then also like one or two small liner brushes that have a little bit more density. So I do really enjoy that. I really wish there was one face brush that just had a little bit more density if I want to like really go in and buff in a cream product without like blowing it out too much. That is the one thing that I think is missing from this set, but that is just me. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the edit set. You are going to get 11 brushes, and this is $150. So you do obviously save a little bit of money if you look like brush to brush by getting the full set, but maybe a full set of 25 brushes is not what you need. So looking at what you are going to get, as far as like true face brushes, you get the number 2 and the number 4. I do like that one of these is duo fiber and one of these is more of like your standard packed bristle. I really do think, you know, again, there's something about this duo fiber one. I don't know if I just got a wonky one. Again, he sort of looks like he has a bad haircut, but that is just me. But I do think that it's nice to have both of these shapes, and you do get like density options. So I think that was really smart. You are going to get one of the number 8 brushes, which I think is essential. This is a brush that you can use for so many different things. I'm glad that Katie put this one in here. Now, here's one. You get the number 9. I just feel like a lot of people aren't going to use this one, in all honesty. Like, I do understand that it's sort of Katie's like aesthetic to really have that really nice cleanup brush, but this is one, when I saw this, I really was considering like picking up the smaller brush set. But when I saw this and one of the other ones, I was like, ugh, I don't know, it's maybe not like worth it for me. But this is one that's in the set if you think that this is something that you could really use. You also have the 11 brush, which I think was a smart choice. This is a standard eye brush shape that a lot of people like I said. You also get the number 15 brush, which is that really good in between like lid packing brush, but it does have a little bit of like give to it. If you did want to buff it, you could use this under the lash line and also as a concealer brush. So another one that will be really great to have for many reasons. You have the 17 brush, which is that more tapered of the two small eye blending brushes, which I think was a very smart choice. You have the 18 brush, which is one of the, it's like the larger of the two small pencil-ish brushes, and I really do like this one. I think that this is something that with a gentle hand, you could really like get pretty detailed, but if you did want to, you could definitely like buff and blow out. You could use this again as like a lip brush. There's a lot of ways that you could use this one. I think this is a good one to add in. Now, then we have the 20 brush, which I'm so glad is in here. This is a standard, like a standard, really nice, flat, well-packed brush is something I need pretty much every day, so I'm glad that this one is in here. Then we have the 22, which is the smaller of the two like flexible liner brushes. I think that, again, if you are someone who follows Katie, you enjoy the way that she uses her makeup, I knew that this one was going to be in here. And then we also have the 23 brush. And this is the last one that sort of like pulled me out of getting the edit set, because I already have one of these. I definitely don't need two of these. But I get, if you didn't get the bigger set and you're looking for like an all-encompassing set, of course you're gonna want a brow brush in here. It's just like, I mean, there are very bad brow brushes, but are there really like incredibly amazing brow brushes? I don't know. I just feel like most of us have a brow brush in our set that we will continue to use. But I digress. I just think between the 11 and the 23, that just sort of like knocked it out for me, because two of the 11 brushes are ones that I won't reach for a lot. And so I just feel like if I were honestly going to, I would get the bigger set and then end up gifting these other two to someone who I think would use them, just like dollar for dollar. That might not make any sense. That might be like, instead of ordering 11 brushes, 2 of which I'm not going to use, I'm going to order 25, 2 of which I'm not going to use. Is that weird reasoning? That's my reasoning. Whether it's weird or not, that's the honest truth. Now, I do want to also mention that if you get the edit set, you get the brushes, you do also get the microfiber towel, but you do not get the brush roll. So if that's something that you were really like oogling or you feel like you could really use, just know that that doesn't come included. It just comes in like a box, and then you get the towel and the brushes. So if that's a deciding factor for you as well, I wanted to make sure that you knew that. So let's get into my comparison after using this other Spectrum set, so I can tell you like differences, similarities, and you can decide if you want to try the Katie Jane Hughes set or look at some of the other Spectrum brushes. Okay, so the first thing aesthetically, obviously you have the color difference. If you want, I think, like to me, this is sort of that like classy yet slightly grungy alternative, which I think totally describes Katie to a T, this olive color and the gold. Now, there are a wide variety of Spectrum colors. I think this is like the next step down in like classiness. I really do love the rose gold, obviously. Like, if you put the green and the rose gold together, I probably would have really liked that. But a lot of the brushes are very whimsical. Like you've got pinks with like purple bristles, like different colored bristles, bright colors. That's just not my aesthetic. If that is yours, wonderful. You are really going to enjoy the look of them. But I think this set, there maybe was one other set that I would consider getting, but this was the only other set that I felt like, yeah, I would use those. So that is one thing. The other thing is they are shaped a little bit differently. So let me try to grab one that is like a similar shaped brush. So here we have the B11, and then we have the Katie Jane Hughes 17. So these are not by any means like total dupes, but if you can see here, the Katie Jane Hughes set is more tapered. The handle definitely comes down to more of a point, which I think helps in the weight balance. Like you get a little bit more weight towards the front of the brush, which I think just, I don't know, it just kind of helps with application a little bit. And in all honesty, it just looks a little sexier. These are just a little bit more chunky, and I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think it makes that big of a difference, but that is one thing that I noticed right off of the bat. But other than that, you can see like the ferrule is pretty similar. It's really just the shape of the handle. As far as the, again, you can see here, not that these are like complete dupes for each other, but look at the number 7 versus the A07. So, I mean, these look very, very similar. Again, other than like this one has a chunkier ferrule. Again, other than the fact that this has a chunkier handle and this one's a bit more tapered, but like the brush quality itself, it feels similar. I don't know if it's just me. I do feel like the Katie Jane Hughes ones are like 5% softer. That is just a thing. I will say, so this has the gray with like the white tip, whereas this has that cream color. I will say both of these I have gotten slightly stained if I use it with like a pigment like the Denona Myrix. That is actually the thing that has mostly stained my brushes. And I have used several different cleansers, and I consider myself pretty good at cleaning out makeup brushes at this point in my life, but it's totally understandable that, you know, something that probably has a bit of porosity to it is going to stain with a high intensity pigment like a very, very bright color fix. So that is something that doesn't necessarily bother me, but if it does bother you, you might want to go for something that has a bit of a darker bristle just so you don't see the staining quite as much. But for me, I like to be able to see like just how clean the brushes are, because even though they're staining, you can definitely tell the difference between staining and residue, if that makes any sense. But that is obviously the one thing that is different. Now, within this little marble set that I got here, I do think that there are some similar brush shapes. I just showed you obviously the 07 brush, and there are a couple, like, you know, there's a little flat shader. You have a couple of the smaller little blending eye brushes. I do think that they are very similar, but not exact. And then obviously in the 25-piece Katie Jane Hughes set, you have some larger brushes and some eye brushes, whereas this is completely like marketed as an eye brush kit. Now, I will say I had some friends who got the larger marble collection, and that one does have some face brushes in it. And I know that my friend Stephen Ford, I don't think he would necessarily like mind me mentioning this, but I know that he was saying that he wished that there were some more densely packed brushes within that, like within the face brushes again. So I don't know if it's a spectrum thing where if they just don't have really densely packed brushes, or it just happens to be that both of the sets didn't have densely packed face brushes. So just for reference, this 16-piece eye set is $96 at full price. I think I got this for 30 or 40% off. They do also have a 35-piece set that also comes with the brush roll, which that rose gold brush roll looks very pretty. You also do have a couple smaller sets as well. And you have the Marvelous 12-piece set, which is a mix of eye brushes, and face brushes, and then the Jet Setter set, which is $89, which I'm assuming has even less brushes in it. So that's one thing to look at. And there are some other like colored brush sets. I would recommend going onto the Spectrum website and really perusing, seeing if you feel like the Katie Jane Hughes set is going to be something for you. But I did want to say, since I got this other set, I wanted to just do a little compare and contrast. I think if you really love the shapes that I've shown you here, it is worth getting the 25-piece set. I really think, like I said, there's like one or two brushes that I don't think that I will grab for that much. They are still good quality brushes. I will say the 11 I feel like is a little bit rough on the edge for me, but not rough, but like too scalloped. It's not as sharp as I would like. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with all the brushes. I do wish that that last brush didn't have that flayed out bristle, but what can you do? So I am very happy to have my Spectrum brushes. I am also honestly very pleased with this marble set, especially because of the price that I got it for. I think hands down, it was great. They are very, very soft. Now, after all of this brush talk, if you are more curious about the brushes that I love, I do have my favorite brush video coming very soon. So make sure you are subscribed and click notifications so you don't miss out on that video. That is coming soon. It's all about the brushes recently. I also got the Wayne Goss Edit, the Goss Edit brush set, and I will be talking to you guys about that one as well. So it is like brush central around here. So like I said, I just feel like for me, there is more value in that 25-piece set, but I understand that that isn't a budget range that everyone has, or honestly, maybe you're not like me and you don't feel like you need all the brushes in the world. That is okay too. I don't think you will be disappointed if you pick up the 11-piece set. I do think that these brushes are going to last a very long time. I have washed, especially my Katie Jane Hughes set, I've washed them several times and had no problems. I don't get any shedding other than the staining that I have gotten on the ones that I've used Color Fix on. There's no problems. I do think that one of my powder pigments did stain it a little bit as well. Now I did watch Lexi Jung and her brushes are like crystal clear, but I do also feel like Lexi and I have a little bit different color stories that we work with, so that could be part of it as well. I will make sure to link her brush video down as well because she is the queen of brushes. I know that Lexi does a lot of natural hair brushes, so if you're curious about her opinions on this set, you should check that out as well. Okay, that's a lot of brush banter. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know, do you have this set? Are you thinking about picking up one of the sets? I appreciate my brush set. I know that I will get a lot of use out of it. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day to spend it with me. You know that really does mean a lot to me. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments down below, and I will see you really soon.